Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final third. And today we are going to be reacting to the Premier League Match Week 8 fixtures. And I tell you what, it's been a good one for Manchester United, but not a great one for West Ham United. Um, before we get into the actual discussion of the results, Al, do you want to reveal the player from the last video?
Yes, the player from the last video was Thomas Rosicky. Let us know if you got that in the comments. You know, an Arsenal player, a good Arsenal player, I guess. But yeah, we'll give you the new 5 facts at the end of the video for you guys to guess.
Perfect. Let's just jump straight into it. The first game of the weekend was Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea, and that finished 3-0 to Chelsea. Al, obviously, we look at the Nottingham Forest side of things first and foremost. Terrible from them. They haven't been good for a long while now. Even under Nuno, they weren't very good, but obviously under Ange, they didn't win a single game. And he got sacked straight after the game, and there was that moment where the owner wasn't even in the stand. I'm pretty sure he went mid-game to sack him. So, my question is for you, what do you think Nottingham Forest have to do now to get their season back on track?
Yeah, it's a great question to be fair, and I'm not really sure what they can do. I mean, look, I've heard that I believe Sean Dyche's going to come in as the new manager, and I think honestly, I think that is a good appointment. I think Sean Dyche will be able to stabilize the team, you know, get them playing, maybe not good football, but at least get them fighting, getting those wins here and there, maybe those draws and as well. Like, you know, it's just been really poor from the beginning of the season, even with Nuno, like you say. But to be fair, still, after what Nuno did last season for them, you never think he was going to get sacked. But obviously, the problems he had with the chairman, you know, ended up making that decision for the owner. And it was, you know, sad to see really for the Nottingham Forest fans. And to be fair, you got to feel so bad for them at the moment because it's just gotten worse and worse every week for them. And quite frankly, it's just this, I think it's an awful thing from the owner to do. Like, I just don't get like how he can't put his ego aside for the team. You get what I'm saying? How can you sack a manager that got you Europe for the first time in like God knows when? You know what I mean? Just because your ego. You know what I mean? Like, we've said it. Like, I don't need to say it again. Obviously, I believe that the owner is going to be the reason if they. Obviously, I don't think they'll go down. I think Sean Dyche will, like I said, will come in, stabilize them, probably keep them up. But it's just, I don't know, sad to see really for Nottingham Forest because they were on such a good trajectory. But you know what I mean? But again, like, the owners just really put them in a bad position, and that performance really showed, you know, where they are. And for Ange, yeah, if that guy gets another job in the Premier League, then I'd be very surprised because he's unfortunately not a great manager. But I'm sure he doesn't care because he probably got a decent payout. And yeah, but that's my thoughts really.
And obviously, he's got that Europa League medal, which again we don't talk about. We lost to one of the worst managers in Premier League history, which is kind of insane. But
Yeah.
Hassan, moving on to the Chelsea side of things, obviously, look at the result: 3-0 win, relatively convincing. Yeah, definitely an expected win, you'd probably say. If you look at the midfield, which is a point we usually talk about a lot, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo both weren't starting the game, and it was Lavia and Reece James. Now, Reece James got a goal from the pivot. What do you think about Reece James? I just think this guy is, for me personally, I think this guy is probably one of the most versatile and, you know, best, fullbacks in the world. Yeah, I think you lot both covered it quite well. I think it's just very interesting to see why Ange played someone like he put Chris Wood on the bench, Callum Hudson-Odoi on the bench, even Igor Jesus, who hasn't really been crazy, but he has kind of scored a couple goals here and there for Forest. I think he scored a brace against Swansea, a brace in the Europa League as well, I believe, or at least a goal in the Europa League. And then you go and start. Is it Awani? Is that how you say his name? I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. Who's just yeah. I just don't
Yeah,
think he's
Ronnie.
been good
Yeah.
for Forest since that first season. They were doing relatively okay. It's really strange to drop those two strikers for a striker who has had no confidence, no game time, and ultimately he dropped the stinker. And I don't know actually what time he got subbed off, but he got subbed off for you know yeah, but having a player like Chris Wood on the bench who was up there for the goals last season and even like this season being quite effective is quite. It's a major reason why I think Ange got sacked. I think making a decision like that will ultimately cost you your job, and it did. So, that's it. It's just it was kind of expected he'd lose, and even at the end of the day, I think everybody expected him to get sacked sooner rather than later. So, it's come to pass. But let's move on to the next game. The next game is Brighton versus Newcastle. Now, Brighton beat Newcastle 2-1. They won 2-1 at home. Al, what did you think of the game?
Honestly, it took me a bit by surprise. I did think that Newcastle would win this game just because I thought they were a bit of a stronger team and probably showing a bit more consistency in their performances. However, Brian, shocked us a little by getting the win. I think we all predicted Newcastle to win, so you know what I mean. It's a bit of a shock for us all. But yeah, no, Danny Welbeck just showing that he's still a great striker, even at his age, and still a pretty vital player for Brighton, even with the players that they have. Obviously, João Pedro left in the summer, and I think Danny Welbeck's done well enough for them in that position since he's left, João Pedro. And yeah, no, it's great to have a player with his experience. Obviously, showing in certain games he always comes up with a goal or two in certain games, and obviously this time it's won them the game. And yeah, no, I think it's good for Brighton, but I think Brighton's only problem they've had realistically this season so far is their consistency. Talking about consistency, like I just think they haven't really had a good run of games, if you know what I mean. It's been like win here, lose there, win here, lose there. I think if they can just try and grab onto a run of form, then you never know what they could do. They maybe grab Europe again, but you never know. Obviously, with Newcastle on the other side, yeah, nah, they're a great team, and I wouldn't be too worried because it was Brighton at home, who it's not an easy game, so I wouldn't be too worried if I was Newcastle. And Voltamada still scored a pretty good goal, so still good signs coming from him, which is what you always like to see. But yeah, nah, that's my summary of the game, really.
Hassan. Oh, do you want to just go ahead? Just go ahead. No, no, just go ahead. Just go ahead. I was just gonna ask you what you thought of the game, so don't worry about it. Just go ahead. Yeah, 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 don't worry. Yeah. What I will say about the game is, I think experience kind of schooled inexperience. I mean, obviously Voltemada did score, but you see the experience of Danny Welbeck and how he's played in the Premier League for multiple big clubs, Manchester United, Arsenal, Brighton now, and has been a very good player for Brighton for a long while now. And obviously, he won them the game at the end of the day. I think having a player with this kind of experience for any team is very important. And the good thing for Brighton is that they don't just have players like him and Milner, who are mature players who just I've seen teams that have too much of that. As for example, I'm going to give it West Ham. They have too many of the mature older players, and I would say there are some teams that have too many young players. You could probably say Man United. They have a lot of young players, and it's not really gelling correct. Yeah, exactly. But Chelsea, to be fair, they won the Club World Cup, so you can give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, it's nice to have a good combination. So Milner, works with Baliba, and then you got Welbeck working alongside Minte and all the other attackers that they have. So it's a good combination from them, and I think Newcastle can probably learn from that. I'm not saying they have they're lacking experience. They have Kieran Trippier on the side too, who's a very experienced player. But what I will say is that Brighton have that perfect mix, and if they can stay consistent, I think they can. Yeah, like Ali was saying, potential push for Europe. So very good win for Brighton. Moving on to the next game, it is Burnley versus Leeds. Now, Burnley won 2-0, and if I'm honest, I actually predicted that Burnley would get something out of the game because their home form's been very good over the last. Oh, I mean, the Premier League season, to be fair. They only lost, I think, to Liverpool 1-0, and it was very late on. So, yeah, Al, what do you think of the game?
No, I did predict a win, to be fair, as well for Burnley. I did expect it because I just think these two teams, Burnley and Leeds, are on such a similar level. Obviously, both being promoted sides coming up. Um, yeah, no, so like I said, yeah, similar level in that sense. And I think for both of these kind of teams, the biggest advantage they can get is that home advantage. And obviously, Burnley had that in this game, and it showed because they ended up getting, 2 goals to win the game. And look, Burnley have shown some threats in certain games, even against teams like Man United, even Liverpool. Obviously, the Liverpool only winning with a penalty towards the end of that game. So you could see, like, as much as I don't think they'll do anything this year, I think they'll get relegated, if I'm being honest, possibly. I still think that they do show fights, a bit of a fight in games. And yeah, they still come out with a goal here and there. And they obviously did that today. And considering that they're both teams on such a similar level, I just think it was, Burnley's chance to get a win and hopefully try and maybe survive in the Premier League. But it's an important win for them. And I just think, yeah, no, it's just an important win for them, and I just think Leeds need to do a bit better, if I'm being honest. But again, I think a couple of these promoted teams are going to get relegated. Probably going to be these two teams that we talking about now. So yeah, that is what I think.
Son? Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I think a few of us. Oh, I mean, I don't know what Hassan. What did you? Did you?
I think I was the only one that predicted Burnley.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought that Burnley would get a result because I think they're a good side, and obviously this is a massive opportunity for them to get a result because obviously in the Premier League, it's not easy to get wins because we've
Mm.
seen it with loads of even the big teams. I mean, you look at Liverpool now; they're just on a terrible vein of form and can't seem to find a win anywhere. To get a win at home like this, I mean, the scoreline, okay, yeah, it's 2-0. It seems kind of like kind of convincing, but at the end of the day, they had to fight for it, and that's what got them to the Premier League. And potentially, it could be what keeps them in the Premier League. And against the side that they're fighting against to keep that position, they did very well in terms of I think Hassan was saying that Leeds did dominate the game, but when it comes to the actual defensive side of things, if you have a solid defense, you can win many games. And I mean, I think Ferguson said it. I think I've said this before, but Ferguson said that attack win you games, defense win you titles. And over a obviously this doesn't apply for Burnley, but what I'm saying is over a season, having a more solid defense is better than having a more solid attack. If that makes sense, you can rely on defense. Ex- exactly. So there's you can probably rely on your defense a bit more than your attack. Obviously, attack is very important, but I think defense is more important, and this game has proved it. So, congrats to Burnley, I guess. The next game is in terms of game and performance is one of the game of the weekend, I would say. The 3-3 Crystal Palace Bournemouth. Unbelievable game. Al, give me a little word about Mateta. What do you think of this guy?
Ryan Barkley's man, what a bloody striker, mate! This guy, like, it's just crazy the form that he's on and the goals that he gets for Palace. You know what I mean? Like I'd say a lot of big teams could do with him, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of big teams wouldn't go for him, because I don't know, he doesn't seem like attractive, if you know what I mean, for the big teams in that sense. But oh my god, is he a bagsman? I mean, look at the goals he's scoring. Obviously, did he have that chance at the end of the game to win the game for them? Yes. It's unfortunate, but it can happen. And there was a bit of bubble. You can give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he scored a hat trick, so you know what I mean. At least kept them in the game. But nah, he's just a great player, and I think after they lost Elise and Eze, they must be so grateful to have kept Mateo, and I think he's going to be so vital for them going forward for their performances, and whether they get Europe, obviously with the form that they're on. I think January will be very important in that sense, because hopefully they don't lose Gahey. I don't think they'll lose Gahey in the January. I feel he's going to leave in the summer, so that's good, I guess. But yeah, no, going back to Mateta, what a player! Honestly, he's so reliable, and that's what you want for a team like Crystal Palace. He's similar to like someone like Welbeck, but just even better in that sense, just more consistent. But he's just reliable. That's what you want for these kind of teams. And yeah, no, he's just going to be so pivotal for them going forward. And to be fair, I didn't think it would go like this. The game, if I'm being honest, I thought Palace would win and and maybe keep a clean sheet. But mate, I think this was like a proper like prime Barclays kind of game. You know what I mean? Just back and forth, end to end. Like we love to see it. We do love to see it really, and we hope to see more games like that. But if any teams were going to put out a game like that, it was going to be these two teams, to be honest. And yeah, it was just amazing to watch. To be fair.
Hassan, on the Bournemouth side of things, there is a new player called Krupi, and he scored 2 goals in the game, and I believe he's only 19 years old, born in 2006, which is kind of mental, to be honest. I think he's taken the place of Evan Nielsen, who's either suspended or injured. I'm not too sure. It's one or the other. I mean, I don't know whether you watched the game, but for a young player to come in like that and score 2 goals away at Crystal Palace, a team on very good form, I mean, what do you think of that? I agree, 100%. Like Ali was saying, Prime Barclays is back. It's really good to watch this season. Like in every single game, you don't know what's gonna happen. It's like you could predict one thing and another thing can happen in the whole game. Do you know what I mean? None of us expected the scoreline, and at the end of the day, we're kind of happy it is, especially if you watch the game. It's a very entertaining game, back and forth. As a neutral, it would have been a beautiful game to watch. So, I get, you probably want to thank the two teams for giving such a great game, and it's yeah, a great advertisement for what you can achieve in the Premier League if you invest correctly and you know do well in that sense. And yeah, great. The two strikers done unbelievable, and Mateta is experienced again, and then you have the young player also performing. That's what the Premier League's all about. You can come in and be a great young talent, and you can also be an experienced player and perform as well. So there's no what's the word? I don't know what the word is. I'm just trying to think. I've just gone completely blank in the head. Oh, yeah. Anyway, it's just a great game, and they both performed really well. So that is a good result for. I'll probably say both teams, to be fair. But we'll move on to the Manchester City Everton game. Man City won 2-0, and Haaland scored twice. Inevitable, as people would say. But Al, I want you to give me a little bit of an opinion on the Everton side of things. Obviously, we said in the prediction video that Grealish wouldn't be available, and he wasn't actually available. Obviously, a major part of why Everton are doing well this season. Um, you think he's a big factor on why they didn't do anything in the game, really?
To be fair, I think it's a bit harsh to really say that Grealish is the only outlet for them. If you know what I mean, yes, he's definitely their key player and their best player that they have at the moment. But they're going to City away. They were always going to lose that game, in my opinion. And it's not an easy place to go, and it's not an easy team to play. Not many teams win there, to be fair to them. And yeah, look, they played well. They had chances that they probably should have scored. To be fair to them, I think it was Beto that missed a couple of chances. To be
Yeah,
fair, and yeah, no. So they just didn't take their chances when they had them. And when you come up against a team like City away, you have to take every chance you get. Otherwise, you're never going to get a result. And because they didn't, City ended up pouncing on their chances. And with a player like Haaland, who is so clinical, it was just inevitable. Like Carl said, he's like Thanos, man. You know what I mean? It's the Thanos of the Premier League, bro. This man will always bag a couple of goals every bloody week, bro. Bro, look again. Carlos wants me to keep it to the Everton side, so I'll try my best to keep it on the Everton side. Everton are doing great this season under David Moyes. Obviously, there's probably still some areas in the team that they might need to improve on. I think the defense is pretty solid. But maybe you could get a bit more depth, maybe a bit more quality in there. Obviously, you got good experience in Tarkovsky. Got good players like Mikalenko, I think that's how you say his name, and stuff
yeah,
like that. And yeah, no, they are a great team. Obviously, if I'm an Everton fan, I wouldn't be too worried realistically. I mean, if you expected to get a result there, no offense. I think it's a bit, what's the word, optimistic, really. But yeah, no, they're winning the games they should be winning, and I guess losing the games you'd expect them to lose. But at the end of the day, I think with Grealish though, he's able to make get those performances to make them win games that you wouldn't expect them to win. If you know what I mean. He always clutches up with a assist or a goal. And another player that I want to mention is just in Iliman Ndiaye real quick. What a player, what a talent. I've seen some of the dribbling that he did and to get out of tight spaces. He's such a great player and such a great talent. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting picked up by a bigger club in January or even in the summer, to be fair. But yeah, no, it's good stuff from Everton, but they just need to be more clinical. That's all, really.
yeah. Speaking of clinical, Hassan, Ali already mentioned Erling Haaland. I saw something, well, not really something. It's kind of a stat, really. How him, Kane, and Mbappe probably going head to head. Him and Mbappe scoring in 11 consecutive games. If I think that's right. Yeah, and being just decisive for their teams. Keeping their teams in and amongst the title. I'd say that Haaland It's just, yeah, he's been doing it for years, and not just at Man City, at Dortmund, and even Salzburg before that. Um, just give me a word on Haaland, really. That's it. I mean, I just wanted to make one point. Obviously Haaland is so important, but I think if God forbid, for Man City's sake, if Haaland were to get injury, who would step up? That's the thing. That's how important he is. Do you know what I mean? It's just not me criticizing Man City, because obviously obviously Haaland is their player and he's performing for them, but Haaland has been prone to a couple of injuries a season. Depending on where it happens, or in sort of what period of the season it is. Like, you never know if it happened in the latter period of the season. Coming up to the end of the season where it's decisive, and where the title really is up for grabs. Then, do you think maybe Man City will be able to get goals? I don't really know. Particularly, I don't see a goal scoring outlet. Listen, at the current moment, obviously, just because Haaland is taking all of his chances. I don't know what you lot think about that, really.
And yeah, no, yeah, oh yeah, I did forget about Mamouche, but he's injured as well, isn't he, at the moment? I saw, still coming back on that. Yeah, I know, but like, I mean, he's coming back on fitness. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's not going to start straight away. But what I'd say on that, I think a big loss for them, but he was always going to go, was Julian Alvarez. Like, you saw it when they had Julian. I mean, I'm pretty sure they won the treble when Julian Alvarez was there. Am I
Yeah,
tripping?
yeah,
Or, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And he
So
scored some very
you know what I
important
mean?
goals in that
So
run.
look, obviously, with the minutes he was getting, he was always going to leave, because the kind of player that he is, there's no way he could stay at Man City and just be a bench option. It's impossible, right? He's a starter, and a starter for a massive club, and that's where he's gone. He's gone to Atletico Madrid, and he's a starter there, and he's been absolutely amazing for them. Yeah, yes, like Hassan said, they got Marmouche, but if Haaland gets injured and Mamouche is starting, is it the same kind of impact? Personally, I don't think so, because it's his first season. He's going to have to get used to the league, used to the team and how they play. He's not the same kind of striker, you know what I mean? He's not that physical specimen, realistically. He's just a different kind of striker. He's more like I don't want to say an Aguirre, but like, you know what I mean? He's a nimble dribbler, and he to get through teams and stuff like that. He's not a physical he doesn't have that physical aspect to his game. But yeah, let's move on from the game. That's
Agreed.
all I
Yeah,
wanted to say,
agreed.
to be
I
fair.
think yeah, we could talk about Man City and how good Haaland is and how he could affect the team if he is not available. But we'll move on to Sunderland versus Wolves. Another result I'm guessing we all thought would happen, and it's looking very, very scary for Wolves. Al, I will say one thing. In the game, you look at it, they had more possession, they had more shots, but there's just a lack of oomph about the team. We said that losing players like Agnuri and Cunha. I mean, we saw Cunha against Liverpool, sorry, and how good he is. I mean, losing a player of that caliber really can destroy a season. Do you see any way back for Wolves potentially this season?
No, I don't. Sorry, but just it's gone. It's they're too far gone, mate. You know what I mean? Like it's really sad to see. But it's hard for these kind of clubs, like I said before, to keep these quality players. But the number one thing for a lot of these smaller teams when they do lose these big quality players is replacing them really well. And unfortunately for Wolves, I just don't think they've done that good enough. And stats that they did, they had the better stats in the game, but we know stats don't mean enough. It doesn't mean anything in the Premier League. You can dominate stats all you want, but you can still lose the game, which they did, and they did badly. Unfortunately, they lost 2-0, which actually I predicted. So that's going to help me in a little competition thing that we got going on. Anyway, moving on from that. Yeah, no, it's sad to see for Wolves, to be fair, because I think they will get relegated, if I'm being honest. And you know what I mean? They've been in the Prem for so long that it will be sad to see them go. But at the end of the day, they can only blame themselves, really, and mostly the ownership. But at the end of as well, on top of that, maybe I'm being a bit harsh because there's not really much they can do about losing those quality players. When you have players that good, there's no way you can keep them at a club that aren't maybe performing to their level, if you know what I mean. Those are Champions League players, and they're not performing as a Champions League club. So what do you expect? They're obviously always going to leave, unfortunately.
Yeah, very well summed up on the Wolves side of things. Hassan, let's talk about Sunderland. We've talked about them a lot this season. Making big signings, and obviously, we talked about Xhaka before, but Mukiel, he did score in the game, and from right back, being an important player. Um, Again, a lot of their new signings are in their starting 11. We sort of said it can go one way or another. Obviously, it looks like it's going the way probably most of us would have wanted it to. Um, do you think signing the quality players with experience like Mukiel and Xhaka has sort of brought them forward, if that makes sense? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Just one last point about Wolves. You look at the starting 11. I don't really see a player in that team that gets a big move after the relegation as well. Maybe only Strand Larson, and that's about it. You don't. You look at their team. There's nothing really inspiring there. They did make a couple signings. They made the signing of Arias, who I don't really know how well he's been playing. Obviously not well enough because the team obviously aren't playing well. Can't blame a single signing, but I mean, there's obviously a lot of pressure to come in and do what Cunha did. That guy was unbelievable for Wolves. Scoring. I think he scored. Him and Bruno Fernandes had the most outside of the box goals last season, and to be able to score those goals would obviously can change a game for any team. So yeah, it's hard to replace a player like that, and obviously Ignori as well, being a massive outlet on the left hand side. Yeah, it's really sad to see, to be honest with you, because I remember when Wolves, they were challenging for Europe and actually got into Europa League at one point. I think it was it their first season or was it their second season? I don't know, but they were in Europe and doing very well. But let's move on to the next game, and the next game is Fulham versus Arsenal, and Arsenal, unsurprisingly, only won 1-0 and kept a clean sheet. Listen, they're a solid defensive side. Al, what did you think about the game?
No, a pretty boring game, realistically. Only 1-0. Like we expected a bit more. Probably, I'd say from Arsenal. Probably thought they'd score more goals. I'm not sure if they made too many chances, but obviously, even if they did, they didn't really finish them off clearly. Um, and yeah, look, in terms of Fulham, I don't know how to feel about them really at the moment. They have been putting in good performances, but they've lost a lot of leads. I mean, they obviously did that against Bournemouth as well, and it's a bit worrying. I mean, not necessarily like relegation worrying, of course, but it's not necessarily, they're not performing as good as maybe the team is on paper or as we expect them to perform. And on terms of Arsenal, yeah, they're just doing what they need to do if they want to win the title, and that's win games. Simple as that. They're winning the games, especially taking advantage of the fact that Liverpool are losing. I think a lot of times, a lot of times in the last couple of years, when they've come second, it's because when they had the opportunity to take a fit, like either a further lead or take the lead in the title race, they've always lost and or drawn. I mean, they did it. Like, to be fair, West Ham were a couple, a couple of teams that beat them in those times in the last couple of seasons, if you know what I mean. But this season, it seems like they're taking their opportunities. They've taken the lead in the title race, and it's just whether they can keep it up. Like we said, they've bottled it in the last couple of seasons. So right now, it's all about the mentality because they definitely have the team to do it. They probably have the best team in the league, even in the depth. So if they just have the right mentality this season, then I think they can easily win the league. But again, it's just about mentality really now.
Yeah, Hassan. At least talking about the title race, Arsenal have made a big step in terms of they've been consistent this season. Um, do you think they are the favourites? I think he was more direct. You get me?
Yeah. Mm. I. Mm.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
I don't think he suits the like Victor Gyökeres now. I don't think he suits the style of play that Arsenal play. Obviously, they're getting a lot of goals from set pieces, and they're really good at set pieces. And I think if they had a player like Sesko, like we talked about this in the transfer videos, it was kind of Man United wanted Victor Gyökeres and Arsenal wanted Sesko, and I think obviously if they swapped strikers, it would suit both teams better. I think Gyökeres would suit United much better at the moment, and I think again, obviously, Sesko would suit Arsenal much better, just because I think the chances that are being created by both teams would suit the other strikers better. But that's all I wanted to say, really. So yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair statement, to be fair. Now that we have Sesko, I'm happy with him. But again, I've said this many times before. I did want Gyökeres. Like, you look at how good he was for Sporting. Sorry about that, guys. There was a bit of a technical difficulty. I was talking about Gyökeres before I left. Yeah, again, I did want him at Manchester United, and I still think he can do well for Arsenal. But again, I feel like their style of play, like Ali was mentioning, just doesn't suit him in terms of there's not really clear cut chances. And I'd probably say at Man United, you probably get a bit more of that, if that makes sense. Yeah, you can kind of say that. Um, but yeah, no, I am happy with Sesko, and I'm guessing Arsenal, probably in the end of the day, might. I think it'll still be a good signing for Arsenal, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, I think we'll move on to the next game, and the next game being Tottenham versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa getting a, some might say, shock win at Tottenham, but again, I think Tottenham of recently, they haven't been very good. Al, do you want to add on to that?
no, yeah, Tottenham have been disappointing to be honest, to say the least, in the last couple of games. Look, they're just not really was it finishing off games really? You know what I mean? Like they obviously took the lead in this game, but they didn't take the rest of their chances, and it really affected them. If I'm being honest, Aston Villa weren't great, especially in the first half. They were awful, and I really thought Tottenham would go on score more goals, but they didn't, and that's what I'm saying. It's about a lot of teams this season just haven't been clinical enough. Fulham, Tottenham, included. And this game showed it for Tottenham, though. Look, I still think they're a great team, and I think they'll still go on to do well, possibly get Europe or whatever. But look, I think they just need to be more clinical, and I think that just shows in the strikers they have. I don't think they have a good enough striker at the moment. Maybe Kolo Muani could come in and do something, but even then, I don't know. Solanke's obviously injured, and even when he wasn't injured, hasn't been good enough. And Richarlison, I don't know. That guy's just a weird one, isn't it? Like 1 minute he's scoring like some worldy, and then the next minute he's doing absolutely nothing. So I don't know what's going on with that guy. But yeah, no, Tottenham are just disappointing. But talking about like Villa, fair play. Like that second goal, my days, what a bloody pass by Matty Cash. Jesus Christ. Yeah, bro, that was just a hell of a pass and just hell of a goal altogether. And
Didn't you agree
yeah,
it too?
no, yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And even the first goal, Morgan Rogers, what a goal from him as well, man. He's such an important player for Villa, especially after like some of the players that they've lost. He's been their key player, I'd say, and it clearly showed with that goal he scored. In that goal, I think Tottenham need to do better. Like the defenders or the midfielders, whoever is near him needs to close him down. You can't give a player like that much space to shoot on his strong foot, and they ended up getting punished for it, really. So at the end of the day, Tottenham, I'm sure Thomas Frank will address these things, and I'm sure they'll still go on to be like, finish in the top six, to be honest. But no, they've been a bit disappointing for me, to be honest.
Hassan, you could probably say the same thing about Aston Villa. Maybe more the start of the season, and now they started to pick up form. Obviously, like Ali was saying, they haven't actually played the best game, but they have got the win, and that's come from, you could say, maybe individual brilliance from Morgan Rogers. And but to be fair, the second goal was a good team goal. What do you think Aston Villa should look to do now? Obviously, they did qualify for Europe and really did push for Champions League last season. Do you think that that should be a goal, or do you think that they should maybe set their expectations a bit more realistic, even after a win like this?
Fine.
Yeah, you were talking obviously about the striker situation at Tottenham. It's kind of strange when you think about it. Harry Kane goes and leaves and wins a trophy, and so does Tottenham. Obviously Bayern were dominant as they usually are, but Tottenham were dreadful. Obviously, Ange Ball. But at the end of the day, you're right. There is a lack of goal threat in the attacking position. Obviously, Kudus is a fantastic footballer. There isn't really a left winger that is very convincing at Tottenham. I think they were looking at getting one of those in, but obviously, they had to spread the money out, and obviously they didn't have enough time to go and get a left winger too. But obviously the striker is a major thing. I actually seen that Harry Kane potentially might have a release clause this summer, and I mean you never know. Tottenham could give it another punt, or he could go elsewhere. But let's move on to my beloved, my Manchester United. Come on, massive win against Liverpool. Love to see it. 2-1. Yeah, unbelievable. I think we'll let Ali, if you want to analyze the Liverpool side of things, I think that's only fair, right? Um,
Be fair, I
Obviously,
think.
you look at the
Yeah.
first goal. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but you look at the first goal,
Mm.
and I think it comes from that left hand side where it's very shaky. Kirkes hasn't looked good for Liverpool as of yet. Could still be a good player for them. And yeah, Van Dijk has been off it for almost the whole season, to be honest. What do you think? Do you think they should have done better, and what could they have done more?
Yeah, I think all their problems right now are lying in the defense. I think it's simple to see. It's simple to say. Look, Van Dijk has been not the man that he usually is. He is probably arguably one of the best Premier League centre backs in history, but at the moment he's looking like one of the worst at the moment. Unfortunately, he's just not playing good at all. And then you got players like Kirkes as well, who we thought would be able to come into the team and start performing straight away, considering how well he was playing at Bournemouth. It's not like he has to adapt to the league because he obviously played in the league before. And obviously, as well, Kanate not having a great start to the season, unfortunately for him as well. And then you got the right back situation, which is a bit of a weird one. They've played Connor Badley, they've played Soberslai, and then Frimpong. And somehow, the person that's done the best is Soberslai, who isn't even
Yeah,
a flipping fullback or even a centre back or a defender. He's a midfielder, an attacking midfielder. How is he your best right back? Like, what is
how is
going
your
on?
best defender?
When your best, brother, when he's your best defender and your best fullback, that's when you know you got problems in the defense. How are they going to solve it? God knows. Obviously, we talked about how they missed the opportunity to sign Gahey and how that had impact them, and it's clearly showed even in a game like this. That first goal, oh my god! Well, I didn't even get time to start the stream before that goal went in. You know what I mean, I just turned on the stream and I see it's 1-0. I'm like, bro, what's going on? Like, United just celebrating. I'm thinking, like, what's happened, bro? And I just see the replay, and you'd think Van Dijk's playing for the other team. First of all, he's head flipping taken out McAllister. Yeah, and then McAllister's having to wear a helmet for the rest of the game, looking like a synchronized swimmer, bro. Poor guy. And then, yeah, bro, and then it just leads to the goal because Kirkes is nowhere to be seen. And unfortunately, they don't have Alisson at the moment, who usually would at least save them in certain situations. But it's nothing against Mohamed Dashvili because he is a great keeper, and there's not really much he can do about some of the goals. But yeah, man, it's just not. It's looking pretty. I don't want to say bleak because, look, Liverpool, they're Premier League champions. They have great teams. They're a great team. And I think I think genuinely their transfer window, I know we praised it so much, but I think this might be their problem. I think it might have been a bit of their downfall because trying to implement a lot of these players has seemed to be a problem for Arne Slot, and it hasn't worked out at all. Like at all. But, give credit to Man United. I think they were quite resilient in that game and, performed really well. But I'll give that to you guys to talk about. So go ahead. Go ahead, Hassan. Go enjoy yourself.
He never gives a ball away. I mean, that is a normal thing for Bruno, isn't it?
Congratulations. That
Nottingham Forest.
was an for us, my bad.
Van de
I
Ven.
don't think we sent that. Yeah,
Van
to
de
be fair.
Ven. 100%. No complacency in place should be for Manchester United. I will mention just something before I'll be honest, I am going to put a little bit of a say on Man United myself. But before I do, looking at the Liverpool side of things, you say that they are Premier League champions, and they are, which they deserved. They won the league last season, but that's last season. This season, I don't think in any of the games they've been convincing at all. In the games they've won, and in the games they've lost, they've looked lost. You know what I mean? They've not played well this season. There is a thing where you can sign too many players. We were obviously talking about Sunderland and how their transfer window was very good. I think Liverpool's just gone the complete opposite way. You know, you spent pretty much £500 million, 200 million on two strikers. You know, I've said it. I said it before, and I'll say it again. There's no need to sign Isak and Ekitike. You can sign one or the other, but why sign both? You've hindered one of them, or hindered both actually, because obviously he's starting Isak, who's not performing well, and then you've got Ekitike on the bench, who's in better form than Isak. So, on the Liverpool side of things, it's worrying, to be honest. You know, I mean, if they keep the bad vein of form, then you never know. But I think again, they are just one win away from sort of coming back, and obviously you look at how good Gakpo was for them. You know, he was very unlucky that day, and I think on another day, Man United lose that game, and you know, that's trying me. That's me being unbiased. But let me go into the biased side of things now. I listen. It's just unbelievable, to be honest with you. Um, for me, I said it many times, and Hassan obviously mentioned it. Look at the right hand side of our team. Ahmad came in, is actually defending really well. You know, for an attacking, you know, white ring back. You know, I don't think obviously Gakpo did have chances and hit the post 3 times, but you know, I think in a sense he's defending well, and I think that side of the pitch is starting to work really well. The left hand side needs a bit of work. You know, Dalot probably the worst player on the pitch for us. Even then he was, yeah, it's a bit harsh. I mean, Van Dijk was on the pitch. And Salah, you know, they both had stinkers. Yeah, I mean, let's be fair, we didn't notice Salah in the game, did we? Like, he had that one shot and he like sliced it completely. But going back to Man United, yeah, the link up on the right hand side, I've said it many times before. You know, having players that are intelligent and know how to play with each other really does help. Look at the first goal and how that worked. You know, people said that the game probably should have been stopped. It probably should have. You know, if you look at it, you know, it's a head injury. Most games, head injuries.
But his own
I've
teammates
seen,
done it
to
to
be
him,
fair,
though.
I've seen people. It's its own player, and you know they're getting pissed. And I think if that's a situation where Man United did that and Liverpool went and scored, I think Liverpool fans would say the same thing, being like, oh, you know, the goal should stand. So tough luck. That's it. That's how it works sometimes. It goes around and roundabouts. Yeah, pretty much. Listen, like Hassan was saying, don't get too carried away. You know, I think this game will mean nothing if we don't get a result against Brighton. I think Brighton are a team who, you know, obviously just beat Newcastle and are very dangerous. Danny Welbeck, obviously former player coming back to Old Trafford, has scored there a couple times for Brighton. Listen, no complacency, but we've seen Man United play these type of games before against big teams and then go and fluff it the next game. I think just one more point before I end the Man United talk. We played well against Sunderland in an attacking sense. Where we were the team dominating and we made chances, and I thought we were the better team overall. And I think in this game, Liverpool were dominating in terms of possession, but Man United were probably still the better team overall. In the sense that, you know, they took their chances and they defended really well. So if we can use these games as like a platform, and you know we could potentially play against any side. Yeah, it's crazy to say, but you know these two performances are very impressive in terms of they're kind of completely opposite, if that makes sense. Yeah, let's move on from the Man United side of things because we can. Okay.
Yeah, here's Jones, wasn't it?
Yeah, Curtis Jones. Yeah, yeah. So did they take off Gravenberg then? I didn't even notice it, to be
Yep.
honest.
Yep. Yeah, they took him off Curtis Jones.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Again, we could talk about this game for a long time. You know, the biggest game in England, up there with the biggest games of the world, alongside the El Clasico. But let's move on. The biggest team won. Yes, we could say that. Let's move on to the other side of things and the game that just happened. West Ham have been beaten 2-0 by Brentford at home. I think before Ali makes a point, I think we'll go to Hassan first so we can let Al just let his heart out. Um, on the Brentford side of things, Thiago, I think is that what you call him really? Ego Thiago. He's been very good this season. I think he scored 5 goals, if I'm not mistaken. 5 goals this season. He scored against United too.
Fifth goal,
Um,
today.
yeah, well there you go. Yeah,
Possibly or fifth. I don't know. I don't care anymore.
yeah, yeah. Don't worry. We'll get to you. We'll get to your side of things. Don't worry about it. Um, I don't know whether you actually watched the game, Hassan. Did you watch the game or? Fair enough. Listen, with on the Brentford side of things, obviously me and Adi predicted Brentford to get relegated, and I did say it could bite us on the ass, and it did for both teams. Um, yeah. What do you think Brentford should look for this season? Obviously, they've lost players like Mbomo and Wissa, but they don't really look like they've been phased at all. They've come and just getting result left, right, and centre. Really. Ali, go ahead.
Uh, where do I even begin? I'll try my best to keep it as brief as I
I say
physically
start
can.
from defense to
But
attack.
no, this is what I'm going to say, right? You would have genuinely. I didn't even know Brentford signed Moses up front, bro. Because the way that man just parted our fucking defense, yeah, you would have thought he was Moses, yeah. Because bloody hell, bro, the defense played like they were a bunch of flipping children, bro. It was genuinely the worst performance I've seen from a Premier League team in my life. And you lot lost to Grimsby Town this season.
Can
Do
I
you know
just
how
say
bad
one
that is,
thing?
bro?
It just feels like you say this every week. It like gets worse.
Yeah, bro, I didn't think it could get worse, especially with a new manager. And I'm obviously going to give him time, but Jesus Christ, I don't know what he was thinking before the game. Me and Cal said it. Genuinely, you would think that he's just wearing like Paul is just wearing a bloody mask or something. Because what the hell was that lineup? Yeah, it's like he wanted to lose. Me and Carl's literally said it before the game started. Like, what that is an awful lineup. Like we're gonna lose the game. I literally said to Carlos, I was like, bro, we're gonna lose the game because of that lineup. Like, what is this? But I thought I finally gotten away from the flipping double pivot of pensioners, bro. But it turns out, nah, let Nuno wants to carry on with that. Like, what's going on, bro? Like, I've said it so many times. I genuinely think that the owners are doing a social experiment on the fans, seeing how far they can take our mental health to the point where we might kill ourselves. Yeah, give me 3 more games. I might just do that, because Jesus Christ, I can't keep watching this shit, bro. It is genuinely cancer to my eyes. It is the worst shit I've ever seen from football in my life. I, you know, I literally, I could talk about so many things, but one thing I also want to say is top 3 most evil people in history. Number 3 is Hitler. Number 2 is Karen Brady, and number 1 is David Sullivan. Okay, the most evil fucking ownership I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, the way they sit there in the stadium acting like they give a shit is despicable. I am with the fans that are protesting, and to be honest, I wish more fans would protest and stop going to the game, because they don't deserve any money from those fans because of the fucking shit they've done to this club. They've taken us out of an absolutely amazing atmosphere in Upton Park to a bloody bowl in London Stadium, which they can't even afford to own, bro, and they're renting it, so they can't even do anything with the stadium. It just, like, me and the boys, we've talked about, both of the ownerships of both of our clubs and how awful they are. And I know the boys love to, say that they've got the worst ownership in the league, but I think David Sullivan is trying his best at the moment to be worse, and he is worse in my opinion. But obviously that might be a bit biased. I'm a West Ham fan. They could say their piece on the Glazers, but I think genuinely David Sullivan needs to get back into his old career, bro, because Jesus Christ, he shouldn't be an owner of a Premier League club. He is.
I mean, you could say he is. You could say,
bro, genuinely, I think he's mixed. Yeah, you know what? You might be right. He might be mixing up Premier League football with, I don't want to say because I can't say it on the video, but with his previous career. And honestly, look, you can't always blame it on the owner. Like, you look at the players on the pitch, and you look at players like Kilman. Bro, bro, I'm not gonna say what was he doing. He is genuinely, like, I need to give Matt Panos an apology, because Jesus Christ is Kilman 10 times worse. And the people that were saying in the comments, fair play, you're correct, bro, because Kilman is genuinely useless, bro. I think I'd rather a newborn child coming out of the womb in defense than that guy, bro, because he is genuinely useless. I could keep going on and on about this, and it worries me. It really does.
Can I just say one thing about Kilman?
Get relegated.
It's quite ironic his name's Kilman, because he plays like a dead footballer.
Yeah, bro, he killed me, man. Banter, but no, genuinely got to be the worst performance I've genuinely seen from a Premier League team ever in my entire life, and I mean that. Bro, go ahead, bro.
Whoa! We can't go into that much detail, Hassan.
Let's keep right. That's as far as we're gonna get with the owner, right? All right, we'll get. Right. Look, I agree with Hassan there. No, I agree with Hassan there, but nah. No. We're keeping that in. We're keeping that in. Don't you worry. But it's fine. It's fine. But look, just going back to the team. Honestly, it genuinely is worrying. There's just absolutely no balance. He took off essentially all the midfielders. Yeah, he left Souček on his own, and guess what he did after? Guess what he did? Just guess what he did after? He took off Souček for Guido Rodriguez. That's
unforgivable. Crazy, honestly.
That is genuinely unforgivable. When I saw that made me realize, Nuno, like, how can I? Look, I'm not gonna say Nuno out just yet. But Jesus Christ, bro. Bro, obviously not after one game. But if he wants to keep putting out lineouts like that, yeah, then he's gonna do it to himself. I genuinely thought it'd be different with this manager, but it clearly hasn't. It's the same shit, different manager, bro. And look, I can keep talking about them all day, but let's just end it there, bro.
I think one point before we finish. I think obviously this is his third game or fourth game, something like that. Third game, right?
Fourth game, I think. I don't even know.
Third game, I believe. Anyway, he's only had a handful of games anyway. I think it's more about he's trying to figure out what to do. I mean, to be fair, a couple of the players went on to international break. I think, right? Did many of your players go on international break?
Bowen, Paqueta.
Okay, there you go. So you missed out a couple of your bigger players. Mavropanos. Yeah, but I will say that I think it just give him time. Listen, he's just come
No,
in.
I'm
He
not
has
actually
done.
against the owner, but
Because again,
sorry,
I
the
will say
manager.
one
But
thing. Look at how he did with Forest in the beginning. They weren't great in the beginning, and
yeah,
then in
no,
the season
100%.
after they performed well. You know.
No, look, I'm not trying to go against the manager. I'm just saying if he's gonna put lineups out like that, then he will lose his job. I hope he doesn't, and I don't want him. I want to keep him, and I want him to do well. I wanted Potter to do well, but they did it to themselves. It wasn't. It wasn't. It's not like we did it to him. He did it to himself with the lineups he put out. And if Nuno carries on putting up lineups like that, he'll do it to himself. And I hope he doesn't. But again, you might be right. Maybe the international break, because a lot of players were gone, he didn't exactly get to see who his best team is. But hopefully he can learn from that game. And hopefully that doesn't happen against Leeds on Friday. Because Jesus Christ, if it does, it's going to be looking very bleak.
Yeah. I think we'll end it there. I don't know what you say, guys, but it's been a very interesting and good conversation. A lot happened. Big games, big wins, big losses. But before we do the quiz itself, I guess we'll put the leaderboard somewhere here. We do not talk about that. On my side of things, it feels like I'm getting relegated at this point. I know there's no relegation in this, but I feel like I'm getting relegated. I mean, the other boys are doing very well, to be fair, but it feels like me having a stinker. So yeah. Al, do you want to give us the quiz for the next player?
Yes, let's get this done and over with quickly. The first fact is his professional debut came in 1990 for Dundee United against Rangers, the club he would later join for a record Scottish transfer fee. The second fact, during his 3-month prison sentence for an on-field headbutt, he continued to receive full wages from Everton, sparking heavy debate in the media. His third fact, his first goal for Rangers came in the UEFA Cup tie against Gornik Zabrza in 1993. He scored the only goal of the match. His fourth fact, he scored 9 headed goals in the 1997-98 Premier League season, one of the highest seasonal tallies ever recorded. And in the fifth and the final fact, though capped 7 times for Scotland, he scored only once in the 1992 friendly against Estonia and later refused to play for the national team after disputes with the Scottish FA. Let us know if you can guess that in the comments, and we'll reveal the play in the next video.
Yeah, just to say, I think that's a bit of a oldie, so hopefully a lot of you guys can get that. And yeah, thank you guys for coming in for the video. Please try and interact with us. Give us your opinions on the games as well. What you thought on the bigger talking points. Like obviously we've had conversations about West Ham and Man United more than obviously because we are fans of the clubs. So leave your opinions in the comments down below. But yeah, that is it from us. And please leave a like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get notified when we upload videos. And we will see you on the next one. Take care, guys.
Take care.